My name is Peter Hancock and I'm the second assistant director on Emmerdale. Day to day, it's essentially making sure the schedule runs to time and getting the artists in on time, getting them through costume and makeup. If you're on location, it's arranging the transport, getting them on set in the right frame of mind so they're not stressed, and keeping an eye on the schedule so that if you get ahead or behind, you change call times accordingly, contact the artists, get them in earlier, delay them if need to be. I started at Yorkshire Television, as it was then, in 2004 on Heartbeat as a runner driver, and I did that for about 5.5 years, gradually progressing to become third AD. Sounds really basic, but I watched the credits and looked for the line producer and then guessed the email address and just sent an email and hoped it got to her, which it did. And she got back to me, and I went in for 2 weeks initially to cover somebody on holiday, and I ended up staying 5.5 years. And that was just through just using my initiative, looking at the credits and contacting them. Through Heartbeat, I got some contacts within YTV so that when Heartbeat finished, I got into Emmerdale through knowing various people there, and came into Emmerdale as a third AD on dailies. So and the third AD is doing the extras and choreographing them all so that it works within a scene, and backing up the first AD for quiet on the floor. And I did that for about 3 months, and then Emmerdale asked me if I'd like to step up to second, which I did, and did that for about 3 months, and then the contract gradually became longer and longer, and I'm here 4 years later as second AD. At school, I would say I was a bit of a swot. My favourite subjects were English and history, and then when I got to GCSE A-level period, I took media studies, and from there took that on to university. I did media studies at Sheffield Hallam. That was a 3-year course, part practical, part theoretical. University was a good grounding and helped me, but getting the job, starting on the job and making the mistakes as you went along, that's how you learn. And that's where I started to learn when I got my first job. I left university in 2002, and I'm from Nottinghamshire, and near me at that time there were studios in Nottingham. And I wrote to the studios there, not knowing anybody, just wrote to the personnel department and asked if there was anything I could watch, observe, and they were doing Family Fortunes at that time. So I went in for the day, and 2 days later, unbeknownst to me, after Family Fortunes, they rang me from Crossroads, which they were reviving, and they said, you came in the other day, we were impressed with you, would you like to come in for a chat for a runner job on Crossroads? Which I said yes to, and I got the job. And that was my first job. I didn't know anybody in television when I got in to get into the role, but I was always fascinated by it. But I always remember when we were at A-level, they had a former pupil come into the school who was then a director and still is a director at BBC. And he came in and gave us a talk, and I got talking to him, Julian Smith his name was, and he was the first person who I really found who was doing something that I wanted to do. So he was a big influence. I remember him coming in and talking to us. After his talk, I did keep in touch with him, and he got me the first of 2 work placements at Children's BBC, as it was then, in London, on Short Change, which was a magazine show for children. If you want to do it, stick at it. You'll get knocked back, but keep focused on it and keep contacting people. Always chase up the contacts. Don't be a pain, but always chase up your letters. If you don't hear from them or your emails after a week or so, chase it up. Offer to do work placements for free, because very often it could lead to something that it could lead to some paid work, or lead to somebody who could give you some work. Stick at it, stay focused, and hopefully you'll get results.